Hi, and thank you for joining another episode of Sound Off with System One. Today, our expert panel will be talking about hot jobs and tips for formatting your resume. As you join us, be sure to drop your name, location, and what industry you're in our comments section. Heck, while you're at it, tag a friend who's looking for a job. While you're commenting, let me tell you a little bit about System One. Here at System One, we set ourselves apart from the competition by specializing in highly technical, outsourced services and workforce solutions to critical infrastructure, technology, life sciences, and government sectors. Founded more than 40 years ago, today System One is a diversified organization operating in over 50 locations and putting more than 9,000 people to work in the US, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Again, as you join us, be sure to drop your name, location, and what industry you're in our comments section. If at any time during this broadcast you have a question for our panel, drop in those in the comments section as well. So as we're waiting for you to tell us a little bit about yourselves, let's tell you about our panel. I'm Karen Callahan, the Content and Communications Manager at System One. I lived in Tampa for over 20 years and just recently moved to Ormond Beach, Florida. I've lived in Florida my entire life, and I love it. One of my fun facts to talk about during this episode would be that my eldest child, my Lucas, starts college in 4 weeks. So I'm a little apprehensive, but super excited for him. And what's great about that is he's actually an esports player. So he received a scholarship to Florida Southern College to play on the League of Legends team. And it's ironic because during the pandemic, when the kids were sent home and we had to work with them, I'd say, Lucas, finish up your homework. Don't play video games because, your education is going to get you into college. And instead, video games got him a free ride into college. So I totally had egg on my face about that one. But what do you do? Anyway, we have today also with me two rockstar experts, Danielle and Matt. So Danielle, we'll start with you. Please introduce yourself and the hot job that you have available.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. I'm Danielle. I'm a financial recruitment manager here with System One. I am going on 5 years in the recruiting industry, with 3 of those being here at System One. I'm based out of Houston and am a part of a team that specializes in accounting and finance. Although that is our focus, we cover a broad range of professional type roles. I am looking to build out my network and build relationships through LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me. A fun fact about me, I am going on a cruise in a couple of weeks, and I'm super excited to not have access to Wi-Fi for a couple of days. It's pretty rare that I unplug, so I'm going to try and embrace doing so. My hot job is a senior accountant role here in Houston, located on the west side of town. If you're familiar with the area, kind of the West Chase area, 59, and the Beltway on the south side. This client specializes in quality testing for a multitude of industries, and they're looking to add someone on the team on a permanent basis, ideally targeting someone with 5+ years of experience. They're not requiring a lot outside of a bachelor's degree, ideally in accounting or finance, but pretty flexible there too. The ideal skill set would be someone who's worked with debits and credits extensively, reconciling general ledger accounts, and then also extensive knowledge of GAAP principles. They're not even requiring a specific software, just ideally looking for someone with heavy experience in Excel and Power BI. This is going to be a good opportunity for someone who's been maybe in a staff accountant role, who's ready for that next level, or even someone who's in a senior accountant role but hoping to have some experience on the finance side. So Power BI is used for reporting financial reports, and so this is going to be, again, a good opportunity if someone's looking to kind of segue into that side of the career. They are experiencing a lot of growth, which is the reason this role is open. So definitely an organization that would make sense to get into at this point. If you are interested or know someone who might be a fit for the opportunity, feel free to share your resume with me. The link will also be, I think, on the side somewhere that you can click on and apply directly as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Danielle. Yes, Danielle's contact information and her job will be being dropped in the comments section. So feel free to grab that there. And also other job opportunities are listed as always on our website, jobs.system1.com. Matt, it's your turn. Why don't you introduce yourself and let us know about your new hot job?
Absolutely. Matt Ruby here in Tampa, Florida. So Karen and I obviously used to live in the same town. 15 years in the industry, all in Tampa, and the last 3+ years with System One. It's been a great 3 years growing this, the Florida market. Obviously, most of the country is either moving to where Danielle lives or to where I live. So it's been a great couple of years moving and transitioning families here. Karen, our facts are similar. So I'm from New Jersey. I went to Florida Southern College. That's where I went to school.
Oh, excellent.
On an athletic scholarship. So I played soccer there. I didn't have video game scholarships when I was going to school. I think I would have probably gotten a scholarship for that too. But I love that they're growing that esports. It's such a growing demand. And yeah, you can't yell at your kids for playing video games anymore, unfortunately. So I have multiple kids at home. But anyway, yeah, Florida Southern and stayed in Florida, obviously nice. But my job is actually jobs today, Karen. And we had a prep call before. We're supporting a large specialty software company or a consulting organization that is supporting one of the largest banks in the world. And they have a huge project where they need us to identify up to 30 resources in the next 60 days. They can sit in one of 6. I took off the international cities just because we don't have that capability, and they know that. So 6 cities here in the United States that the resources can sit because of the locations of the financial institutions, but the candidates will be able to work from home. So these are Java development positions, 5 years of experience, and then their teams will basically, I don't want to say they're not specific on experience, but these are full stack. So if we have someone that's more front end focused, that's okay. They'll put the teams together and marry them appropriately based on skills and strengths. So yeah, 5 years of experience is what they're looking for. These are full-time positions. These are not contract roles. So yeah, just really excited to have a project of this size and magnitude to be able to facilitate people from throughout the United States for this opportunity. And that we just posted it, literally 10 minutes ago. This is a brand new opportunity, and we're excited to see the candidates we get to talk to over the next couple of weeks.
Exciting. Those are exciting opportunities. So once again, go ahead and connect with Matt if you find these opportunities to your liking. We're dropping his contact information in the comment section, as well as his job ID number. And as always, you can search on jobs.system1.com because this job and others are being added every day. So we're going to say a quick shout out to some of our commenters. We've got Armando. He's in the oil and gas industry. So hello, Armando. We've got Trent. He's into offshore wind curriculum development. Excellent. We also have Stan Lee from Saskatoon. Kanisha, she's in the IT industry. And Rich Weed. Hey, Rich. So Richard Weed, head of our marketing department, saying hello. Anyway, so today's topic of discussion, we're discussing resumes. So while there's a few commonly used resume styles, your resume obviously should reflect your unique education, experience, and relevant skills. Oftentimes, we might consider wanting to have multiple versions of your resume to tailor to the jobs you're applying for. Now, our expert panel will be discussing key resume writing tips and how to help organize, design your resume dependent on your industry. So Danielle, once again, let's start with you.
Yeah, thanks again. We're targeting different industries. I place on the administrative and accounting side typically, so I'm going to speak to those particular types of candidates. I think I'll start, and Matt might have a different comment on this regarding his industry, but the one-page resume is okay, but we're also okay with more than one page. So if that is a concern of yours, you do not have to narrow down your experience to a one-page resume. I err on the side of concise is key. So you don't want to go overboard and have a a research paper of your experience, but we definitely want to grasp your full career. So to a certain point, you'll want to go back as far as it makes sense to. And if that means you're beyond that one page, again, that is okay for our particular types of industries. A couple of key points specific to a resume. On the accounting side, anytime you can relate to the reader regarding numbers and metrics. So specifically thinking through like volume, maybe how many invoices you're working with or have worked with, and even revenue. So sometimes clients are really curious to know what size company you're working with. And so when you're thinking through what you're listing, be mindful that this is your first impression. And so any questions you can answer without them needing a conversation, right? So ideally you get to an interview, but think through what questions are they going to be asking when they're looking at my resume. And some of those will be regarding specific numbers. So anytime you can relate that information, very helpful. The other thing that I don't see a lot of candidates think through is industry. So obviously as a recruiter who's looking at resumes all day, I've over the years been able to pick up on, okay, this company is associated with this industry. But if there's somewhere on your resume, even under we'll get specific, even under the company name or next to it in parentheses, putting that industry, or under if you have a skills section in your resume and listing out industries, blank, 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 oil and gas, manufacturing, anywhere where it can stand out as an easy read. Because typically with our clients, they like to see that you're coming from a similar background. So again, answering that question before they're having to do their research on what company you're coming from and what they were doing. And then lastly, this is probably my most cherished tip is software. So when I am doing a search, whether it be on Indeed or even in our applicant tracking system, I am typically looking at software. So have you worked with Excel? Right now I'm working with a client who's looking for candidates with a software called Deltek. And I think maybe there are 100 in Houston based on the resume searches. Obviously, there are so many more of you out there who have worked with Deltek, but it's not listed on your resume. And so in order for me to save time, I'm guessing as a billing candidate that you might have it, but I'm targeting those candidates who have it listed on their resume. So any software that you've encountered and can say that you can navigate, right? Don't list software that you've seen with your eyes. Not, if you haven't used it, you don't want to misrepresent your skill set. But again, list out your software because keyword searches are important to recruiters, hiring managers. It's one of the ways that we get talent in front of us. Can't say it enough because again, right now I'm in a search with Deltek, and I'm sure there are plenty of you out there, and I can't find you because it's not listed. But again, I think my big advice would be just to think through questions that recruiters, hiring managers are going to be asking when they're looking at your resume, and try to answer those before they pass on you.
Excellent points. Do you have anything to follow up with that, Matt?
Yeah, so I think to Danielle's point, I think IT, there's ideally, I will say short and sweet. We don't mind necessarily a 2-page resume, but the first page, a lot of times with, I would say just older resumes, it typically has the whole first page is this technology. It doesn't tell us or the client about who you are. So I'd say, name and then an objective, maybe some of the background or industries, to Danielle's point, what you've worked on. So immediately, if we're looking for a software company and they know that you've worked at other software or hardware companies, that's just good to know from the beginning. For the IT consultants, we like to have then the technologies after that. Just a brief, 6 or 7 lines of technologies that you've used, and then specifically modifying and adjusting your resume to the position, because there's lots of different development roles, front end, middle tier, back end, or project managers. It could be a people manager. It could be a project specific. So tailor your resume to those roles. And I know that might take some extra time, but the more specific, the better. Also on resumes, we get a lot of these different formats with the graphics and that I'll just say it looks nice unless you're in a creative or maybe a front end design type role, that it has no impact on you getting a job. At least in my 15 years, it's the content of it, not necessarily the look. And then I just mentioned before in our pre-meeting was we had a candidate that listed a technology on her resume and she wasn't able to speak to it. So whatever you have on your resume, you have to be able to speak to it and how you've used it. If not, that immediately throws red flags to the company or the hiring manager and group, and could get you eliminated from contention. And then the wording is important, what you are accountable for, what you owned rather than a team, because no one knows how big a part of that team that you played. But if instead of worked with a team that did this, it could be ran or led the team or a specific piece of that project, you could really speak to it. So the more that you can own and take accountability for, the better. I know that's a lot, but brief, concise, to the point. Don't need any extra graphics or pictures or things. That makes it actually harder on our team to format the resume. But be very specific with what you put on there and be able to speak to it. And I think you're going to be ahead of the curve with against other candidates.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see a few more hellos. Trent's Matt Turner in the oil and gas industry. Hello. We've got Tina from West Virginia. Oh, Trent's from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Lovely place. We have Tony Puglia. He says, thank you from a hiring manager. All our great resume tips. A lot of hiring managers today are struggling with people sending in resumes that just aren't, I don't want to say worth their time, but it's a struggle for them to go through a lot of resumes that aren't properly formatted or follow the instructions to what they're, what they need and how they look for it. So great, excellent ideas, team.
I actually have a couple more things to add as Matt was talking. I was thinking,
Yeah.
Is that okay, Karen?
Yeah, absolutely.
So formatting. So I've run across this several times. A lot of the times we refer back to our job descriptions, or we're pulling other job descriptions to help identify the responsibilities we've had in a previous role. And I've seen people literally copy and paste those job descriptions into their resume. And although some of it may be applicable, make sure you're adjusting that wording to communicate, the correct tense. And then also, if it has something specific to the job that you're copying and pasting it from, you'll want to remove that. Just be mindful that every detail matters. Again, we are skimming these resumes as a first impression, and you never know what hiring manager is looking at what, and what's strong their eye, or what could eliminate you just based on a grammatical error. And then that was my second additional tip is we are accustomed to what we're doing, right? So these were our jobs. We knew what we were doing, but have 2 or 3 people look over your resume and make sure it makes sense to someone else's eyes before getting it out there. Just because again, we're just going through the motions and typing out what we did in our bullet points under our jobs, and just making sure that it makes sense to another reader. And I'm happy to do that. That's part of my job. So feel free to share resumes with me if that's something I can assist with. But again, resumes are first impressions, and they deserve to have some time spent on them.
Excellent. No, you're right, Danielle. Like, we need attention to detail when we're writing these things, and second and third sets of eyes are perfect. And I write for a living, and even I have my colleagues look over to make sure that just things sound right, because it might sound right in our heads. If we're writing about ourselves, we're writing a resume, it sounds right in our heads, but somebody else might say, oh, this doesn't make sense. So
right.
Exactly.
No, I think those are great tips. And I think, Danielle, what I always tell my candidates is, hey, read it out loud. Read your resume out loud, because a lot of times you'll hear it and be like, oh, that grammatically, to your point, is not right.
Right.
Or that just the wording is clunky or just doesn't work out right. But I just saw Tony on our messaging, just that made me think about the average, the managers are going to give your resume about 30 seconds. I mean, that's all you have. Mm-hmm. And so that's why so valuable that first page, that first half of the page. Mm-hmm. catches their attention with skills.
Absolutely.
And so the last job that we talked to our client about, they had 95 applicants. Like there's no way that they're going to be able to spend a minute on that's an hour and a half. So the cool part is working with us, we hand those resumes to a manager and we talk to them about them. That's an advantage in working with us. But also, we're speaking to the specific requirements. But again, the resumes are formatted, they're catching the manager's eyes. And again, you've only got a shorter period of time, so you got to make it worth your while.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Absolutely. That was all great advice. As people are commenting, please, once again, these are two great people that we work with, two great experts. Feel free to contact them through LinkedIn. Contact information is being dropped in the comments by members of our marketing department. But yeah, Danielle, Matt, thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us today.
Yeah, as always, you guys are just rock stars every time you're on, so we love it. Once again, just for everybody out there, new jobs are added every day. Jobs.system1.com. Go there. You can find the jobs that we discussed today, or use keywords for the jobs that you are interested in. And of course, on this, if you want to also, because this episode obviously stays on our LinkedIn and YouTube accounts in perpetuity. So if you want to tag colleagues that that might be interested in the type of jobs that System One has to offer, go ahead and tag them in the comments section and encourage them to connect with us and follow System One as well. So, yeah, thank you. Wonderful advice. We add new jobs every day. We appreciate everybody who's joined into this broadcast. And remember, please tune in every Thursday here at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We're constantly bringing hot jobs, career advice, industry news and trends, and what I feel are the best experts in the business. So thank you again. We look forward to seeing you next week.